After 7 years of being a stay-at-home mom, my husband resents me for embarrassing him, and my son tells people I'm just a babysitter.
Good.
I don't do laundry anymore, I don't cook anymore, and I dress up every day to go shopping. However, the father and son are in a hurry. I was picking up Carter from Windsor Elementary when I ran into Lily Whitman's mom. Just as I was about to greet her, Carter jumped out in front of me, blocking my way. "This is our nanny. You don't need to talk to her." Then he turned to me and shouted, "You're embarrassing.
Don't come to school looking like that."
I looked down at my faded clothes. Between taking care of the house and family, I hadn't had time to dress up. My ungrateful little brat had the nerve to be ashamed of me, but I wasn't going to take it lying down. I slapped some sense into him, hard. Carter's face turned beet red when we got home from school. I sat on the couch with a cold expression. I didn't cook dinner, didn't clean, didn't wash a single piece of clothing. Carter, as usual, didn't think he'd done anything wrong. He expected everything to continue like normal. "Mom, I'm hungry. Hurry up and make dinner," he demanded. I shot him a look and said, "Don't call me Mom. I'm not your mom." I looked around at the dirty laundry and messy living room and sank deep into thought. It's been 7 years since I became a full-time mom. I gave up my job for Carter. Every little thing, meals, laundry, school, health, was all on me. But today the way he acted made me realize all my efforts were for nothing. Why had I sacrificed so much? When I refused to make him dinner, Carter lost it completely. He threw himself on the floor and started screaming. I wasn't wrong.
You don't even have a job.
What's the difference between you and a nanny? I'm telling Dad. To my shock, Nathan frowned when he heard the story, and his eyes were full of disappointment when he looked at me. "Why are you making a big deal over what a kid says? You promised him fried chicken today." No wonder Carter's upset. "Nathan, are you serious?" I couldn't believe it. "Your son has serious issues, and when I try to teach him a lesson, somehow it's my fault?" Nathan's face showed nothing but annoyance. "Carter's just a kid. What does he know? But you've let him go hungry this long. That's on you." Carter lipped, smug, glancing at me while he whined to Nathan about wanting fried chicken. Before the two of them could head out, I yelled, "If either of you walks out that door today, I'm done with this house." The only response I got was the slam of the door and the sound of their laughter fading down the street. I collapsed on the couch, tears running down my face. 7 years of my life. All for nothing. Every day I'd wake up early, cook, clean, take care of Carter, and do all the household chores. My workload wasn't any less than Nathan's, but now neither Nathan nor Carter appreciated me. Well, if they think I'm so embarrassing, I'm done. I'll spend my time and money on self-care and clothes.
Let's see who misses me then.
After making up my mind, I tossed Nathan's stuff into the guest room. There was no way I was sleeping next to that man for another minute. I called up Bianca, and we made dinner plans. Nathan tipped Carter out for fried chicken, so I wasn't going to hold back either. After dinner, Bianca and I hit Rivercrest Shopping Mall. I had years of missed self-care to make up for the newest skincare set. Bought trendy clothes and bags? Yes, please. Gym membership, spa package. Got them both. Bianca watched me spend money like water, her eyes wide in disbelief. "Vivian, aren't you worried Nathan's going to lose it?" I admired my purchases with satisfaction. Who cares? I'm spending my own savings. He has no say in it. I posted a picture of my shopping haul on Instagram to celebrate this new chapter of my life. But then I saw that Nathan had already posted something. First, he tagged me, too, with a snarky caption. "Took Carter out for fried chicken. He says I'm his favorite." In the picture, they were smiling, faces pressed together in front of a table full of junk food. I rolled my eyes. Every time I tried to discipline Carter, Nathan would play the good guy. So despite me spending every day taking care of Carter, it was Nathan who Carter adored. I gave the post a sarcastic like and went to grab drinks with Bianca. We spent the evening mingling with some charming guys who kept calling us ladies in that flirtatious tone that made me feel young again. Dancing in the club released all the stress I'd built up. During the day, Carter might still be young and need guidance, but as his mom, I couldn't just abandon him. I'd have to rethink how I raised him. When I got home at 11 p.m., I was ready to make some changes in our dynamic. But instead of being in bed, the house was still brightly lit. Carter was up playing with his toys in the living room, way past his bedtime. I always made sure he was asleep by 8 p.m. for school the next day. But here was 11 o'clock, and he was acting like it was the middle of the day. Furious, I roared, "Carter Somerson, do you have any idea what time it is? You've got school tomorrow." Normally, Carter would have jumped into bed the moment I raised my voice, but tonight, he actually had the nerve to shout back. I stood there stunned. I can't believe that's something he would say. "You're the one who doesn't keep your promises. Why do I have to listen to you? You just sit around at home all day living off Dad's money. You're pathetic." This was the same child I'd devoted 7 years of my life to, and now he was lashing out at me like this. The first time Head said something hurtful, I thought it was just his age, but now he was doing it on purpose. He meant every word. Tears stunned my eyes. I couldn't believe I had given up my career, everything for this ungrateful child. I stormed over and yanked him off the floor. "Say that again."
Who taught you to speak to me like that?
"Who?" My voice was shaking with despair. Carter glared at me with nothing but hate in his eyes. I shivered. He started sobbing, but his words stayed harsh. "You don't do anything. My friends' moms aren't like you." I had reached my breaking point. After everything I heard from Carter, with those cruel and disrespectful words, I realized I didn't have the strength to continue living that life. It wasn't just him. Nathan had become complicit in this behavior, laughing behind my back, letting Carter disrespect me as if it were a game. I had devoted 7 years to that family, and all I got in return was contempt. That night, while Carter was finally asleep, I went to Nathan. He was sitting on the couch, watching TV, completely oblivious to everything happening around him. I sat beside him, my heart pounding. It was time to end this once and for all. "Nathan, I want a divorce."
He didn't even look at me.
His eyes stayed glued to the screen, as if I had just told him dinner was ready. I sighed heavily, already expecting that reaction. But what he did next surprised me.
He laughed.
A cold, mocking laugh, as if I were the most ridiculous joke he'd ever heard. "You? Divorce me?" He finally turned his head, his eyes filled with arrogance. "Good luck with that. How do you think you're going to survive without me? You have no money, no job. You depend on me for everything." I stood frozen for a moment, absorbing the cruelty of his words. But instead of breaking me, they fueled me. Did he really think I was useless? That I couldn't rebuild my life? I took a deep breath and stood up, never breaking eye contact with him. "I'll survive, Nathan. And I'll live much better without you." He just shrugged, thinking I was bluffing. But I wasn't. That night, I made up my mind that I was going to change my life. The following weeks were tough. Nathan completely ignored me, as if he was waiting for me to give up on the divorce and return to our miserable routine. Carter continued treating me poorly, but I knew that came from his father's influence. Our relationship was strained, but something inside me had shifted. I decided I would no longer be the person who lived solely for others. I spent the first few days crying alone, trying to figure out what to do. No career, no support, and very little money. It seemed impossible. But then, one afternoon, while I was baking a cake just to relax, something I always enjoyed doing to relieve stress, an idea came to me. Why not sell these cakes? I started small, selling to neighbors and Bianca's friends. They always said I made the best cakes they'd ever tasted, but I had never taken it seriously. This time, I decided to take a chance. With what little I had left in savings, I bought ingredients and invested in simple, but nice, packaging. I created a page on social media, took pictures of the cakes, and within a few days, I already had several orders. Nathan, of course, didn't take it seriously at first. He laughed whenever he saw me walking out of the kitchen with boxes of cakes, thinking it was just a passing phase, something that wouldn't amount to anything. But the weeks went by, and the orders kept coming. Soon, I had more requests than I could handle on my own. There was a moment, a few weeks later, when Nathan walked into the kitchen and saw the scene. Cakes lined up, boxes ready for delivery, and my phone buzzing nonstop with new orders. "What is this?" he asked, unable to hide the disbelief in his voice. My job, I replied firmly. I told you I would survive, Nathan. He stood there in silence, clearly surprised. I could see the realization slowly dawn on him. He had completely underestimated me. Not long after, I was able to finally file for divorce. I no longer needed his money, his approval, or, most importantly, his life. I was building something for myself, something that made me happy. That idea, born out of a need to rediscover myself, became my greatest victory. In a few months, I expanded my cakes to local cafes, and even Carter began treating me differently, seeing that his mother wasn't the weak and dependent figure he thought. He was still young, and our relationship was still strained, but now I knew I could take care of myself, and, if necessary, of him, without needing anyone. I had finally set myself free. I walked out of that house with just a suitcase in my hand and a purpose in my heart, never to depend on anyone again. Nathan didn't believe in me. He thought I couldn't survive without his help. But the moment I closed the door behind me, I knew I was leaving behind not just a failed relationship, but an old version of myself that no longer existed. Over time, my small cake business grew. The success I found selling to neighbors expanded to cafes and local restaurants. I worked tirelessly day and night, experimenting with new recipes, developing my brand, and learning everything I needed to know about running a business. I couldn't afford to rely on anyone. I was doing this for myself and for Carter, who, despite being influenced by his father, was still my son and needed a better figure to guide him. Within a year, I opened my first bakery. It was called Sweet Victories, a personal reminder that every challenge I overcame was a sweet triumph. Customers came from all over, drawn by the flavor and quality of the cakes, and the shop quickly became a local favorite. With the money coming in from sales, I opened a second shop in another city, and before I knew it, I was franchising across the country. In 5 years, Sweet Victories had become a national chain. Each store represented a piece of my journey, a living testament to the fact that with determination and hard work, I could overcome any obstacle. The name, which had started as a personal symbol, now represented so much more. It was a victory over Nathan's contempt, over the years of being undervalued, and most of all, over my own doubts. At the peak of my success, something unexpected happened. I received a court summons. Nathan, broke and bitter, had filed a lawsuit against me. He was demanding half of the Sweet Victories brand, claiming that since we divorced during the business's growth, he was entitled to a portion. His audacity left me speechless. He hadn't contributed a single penny or effort to my success. On the contrary, he had tried to undermine and humiliate me, and now he wanted to profit from it? On the day of the trial, I was ready. The courtroom was packed, and the tension in the air was palpable. Nathan sat across from me, with his lawyer, trying to look confident, but his appearance showed clear signs of financial ruin. When it was my turn to speak, I stood up, looked at the judge, and began what would be the most important speech of my life. Your Honor, everything I have achieved was with my own 2 hands. When Nathan and I separated, he told me I wouldn't survive without him, that I didn't have resources, that I depended on him. But the truth is, the success of Sweet Victories came from every cake I baked, from every sleepless night, from every tear I shed. Nathan didn't believe in me, he didn't support me, and he never took part in building this business. Today, he is not here because he believes he deserves half, but because he wants to profit from something he dismissed. He has no right to a single penny, not because of my pride, but because this is the fruit of my labor, my sweat. And I will never give that up. The courtroom fell silent. I could see the judge, thoughtfully considering my words. Then, he delivered his verdict. I won the case. Not only did Nathan lose the lawsuit, but he was also ordered to pay a fine for trying to claim something that wasn't his. However, when I heard the amount of the fine, something inside me decided I didn't want that money. I didn't need it. I wanted nothing from Nathan, not even to compensate for what he had tried to take from me. Your Honor, I decline the fine.
I don't want a cent from this man.
Everything I've built was through my own effort, and that's how I want to continue. Nathan stood there, defeated, while I walked out with my head held high. He had lost everything, while I had gained everything. But the money wasn't the most important thing to me at that moment. After the trial, I requested full custody of Carter. I knew that Nathan had been a terrible influence on him, and my priority now was to undo the damage. The judge, recognizing my dedication and the situation, granted me custody. I knew it would be a challenging task, but I was ready. I raised Carter with discipline, teaching him the value of hard work, honesty, and respect. It wasn't easy. He had been shaped by years of permissive behavior, but over time, he began to change. Slowly, he saw the kind of person his father truly was, and eventually, he realized how much I had fought for the both of us. Today, Carter is a responsible young man, and Sweet Victories continues to grow, with franchises all across the country. Looking back, I see that all the pain, the tears, and the sleepless nights brought me to a place of peace, success, and pride. Nathan? He's long gone, bankrupt, and with nothing left. But me? I have everything that truly matters. Even after all the hurtful things Carter said to me, I knew deep down that I could never abandon him. A mother never abandons her child, no matter what. He was young, influenced by Nathan's toxic behavior, but I knew that, in time, I could show him what true love, respect, and hard work really meant. And that's exactly what I did. Even when he yelled at me or compared me to other mothers, I persisted, raising him with both firmness and the affection he desperately needed. Over the years, our relationship changed. Carter grew up, matured, and began to see things differently. He realized what kind of man his father was and, slowly, started to appreciate everything I had done for him. He understood that the tough choices I made were for his benefit and for our family. Today, we have a solid relationship built on mutual respect. During this transition, something wonderful happened in my life. I met a man who truly respected me, who saw me as his equal, and who stood by my side in every decision. We got married, and for the first time in a long time, I felt peace in my heart. He supported my business, encouraged my dreams, and together, we expanded the Sweet Victories empire even further. The business grew in extraordinary ways. With each new store that opened, I felt a wave of satisfaction, knowing that every cake sold represented my journey of overcoming obstacles. And then, something I never thought possible happened. I made my first million. It was an indescribable achievement, not just for the financial success, but for what it symbolized. Every penny of that million was earned through my hard work, dedication, and the courage to start over. With the success of my business came invitations to speak about overcoming challenges. Today, I travel the country sharing my story, inspiring women and men who are going through difficult times, showing them that with determination and resilience, it's possible to turn your life around. Every speech I give reminds me of everything I've been through, but now, when I tell my story, there's no pain, only pride. As for Nathan, I never spoke to him again. I decided to cut all contact. There was nothing left to say, and our story was in the past. But every now and then, I hear news about him. I learned that he lost everything. Homeless, without an income, he's living off the charity of others. The irony is not lost on me. The man who once told me I wouldn't survive without him is now the one living on the edge. Meanwhile, I've built an empire with my own hands. I hold no bitterness. Life has taken its course, and each of us has reaped what we sowed. Today, my focus is on my family, on Carter, who has grown into an honest and hardworking young man, and on my husband, who gives me the support and respect I've always deserved. Above all, I'm at peace, knowing I've walked my own path and triumphed.